She took the EpiPen before dinner. Accident? Or did she plan this?
The first thing I heard wasn't words. It was crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just small, broken, the kind of sound that makes your chest tighten before your brain even catches up. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. "Is this Valyra Thorne?" a voice asked, strained, professional, but barely holding it together. "We have a child here. She says she's yours. She's been crying for over 20 minutes. Everything in my body went still, because there was only one child that could be. "Nerissa?" I said, already knowing the answer. "Yes. She says she can't find her uncle." That's when the world tilted. My brother, Calum Rice, was supposed to be with her. Not nearby, not delayed. With her. Holding her hand. Walking her to the gate. Waiting until she boarded. That was the plan. Simple, safe, controlled. So how does a 5-year-old end up alone in an airport? I grabbed the counter to steady myself. Where is she? Gate C-17. My heart dropped instantly because her flight. Gate A4. Completely different side of the terminal. Not a small mistake. Not a wrong turn. An entirely wrong direction. "How long has she been there?" I asked, already pulling my shoes on, my mind racing ahead of me. A pause, the kind that tells you the answer is worse than you want it to be. "Her uncle brought her there," the staff member said carefully. "He spoke to her briefly, then he left." Left. Let that sit for a second. He didn't lose her. He didn't get separated. He walked away. I called him immediately. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. A third time. His phone was off. Now ask yourself this. Who drops off a 5-year-old at the wrong gate, tells her to stay there, and then disappears? Because that's exactly what this was starting to look like. "I need someone to stay with her," I said quickly, already heading for the door. "I'm on my way." "We are," the staff member replied. "But she keeps saying her uncle told her to wait. She won't move." Of course she wouldn't. She trusted him. That's what 5-year-olds do. They trust. And sometimes that's the most dangerous thing they can do. I stepped outside, keys shaking in my hand, heart pounding harder with every second, and in that moment I had a choice. Keep calling my brother, or accept something was very, very wrong. So I stopped dialing him, and I called someone else instead. Because deep down, I already knew this wasn't a mistake. Let me ask you something. What's worse, someone who's careless, or someone who knows exactly what they're doing and pretends they don't? Because my brother, Calum Rice, had always lived right in that grey area. And looking back now, that's where all the warning signs were hiding. This isn't the first time he's forgotten something important. That thought hit me as I drove, gripping the steering wheel harder than I needed to, replaying the morning over and over again. Calum was 34, charismatic, smooth, the kind of person who could walk into a room and immediately take control of it. People liked him, trusted him, but consistency, responsibility, that was always optional. Still, that morning felt different, normal even. "You've got too much on your plate," he told me, leaning casually against the doorframe like he always did. "I'll take her. It's just a gate drop-off. I'll walk her all the way through." Simple, easy, too easy, Nerissa had lit up the second she saw him. "Uncle Sky," she yelled, running straight into his arms. He laughed, scooping her up like nothing in the world could go wrong, and maybe that's why I let my guard down, because in that moment he looked like someone you could trust. I crouched down in front of her, adjusting her tiny backpack, smoothing her hair. "Stay with him, okay? Don't let go of his hand." She nodded seriously. "I won't. And Calum," he smiled, "I've got her." But here's the part that didn't register until later. He never asked for the boarding pass, didn't check the gate number, didn't confirm the time. At the time, it felt like classic Calum, carefree, a little scattered. Now, it felt deliberate. Back in the present, my phone was pressed tightly to my ear as I spoke with airport staff. "She won't move," they said. "She keeps repeating that her uncle told her to stay right there. Stay. At the wrong gate. Why? Did he say anything else?" I asked. My voice sharper now. There was a pause. Papers shuffling. Someone whispering in the background. Then the answer came. "She said, he told her, someone else will come get you." I slowed the car slightly, my mind catching on that one sentence. Someone else, not him, not me, someone else. "Did she say who?" I asked. No. That's when a cold realization started forming, because if Calum wasn't planning to take her to the flight, then he was expecting someone else to show up. And suddenly, this wasn't just negligence anymore. It was a plan I didn't understand yet. A plan that left a 5-year-old sitting alone at the wrong gate, waiting for a stranger. So the question is, who exactly was supposed to come get her? And what would have happened if they did? Here's where everything stopped feeling like a bad mistake and started feeling intentional, because I finally got an answer, and it made everything worse. The person I called wasn't random. It was Orion Dast, 42, former airport operations supervisor, the kind of man who understood airports like blueprints in his head. Security flow, gate logic, passenger movement, nothing slipped past him. "Start from the beginning," he said, already typing, before I finished my first sentence. I gave him everything: flight number, gate mismatch, timeline, Calum's name. There was a pause, not confusion, calculation. "That's not an accident," Orion said flatly. My grip tightened on the wheel. "Explain." "To get to gate C-17, he continued, he would have had to ignore at least 4 major directional signs pointing to A gates. You don't casually end up there, especially not with a kid slowing you down." "So you're saying?" "I'm saying he chose that gate." Let that sink in. He chose it. Meanwhile, updates kept coming through from airport staff. "She's getting more upset," they told me. "Boarding is almost complete for her flight." Time was running out. "She still won't move," they added. "She says her uncle told her to wait right there." Of course she did, because she believed him. And he knew she would. Then Orion spoke again. Quieter this time. I found something else." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Calum booked a second flight." Everything inside me froze. "What?" "Different airline. Departure at 11:55, Orion said. "Opposite side of the terminal." I checked the time on my dashboard. 11:58. "He's boarding right now," Orion added. No. He wasn't supposed to be boarding anything. He was supposed to be with her. "Where is he going?" I asked, my voice tightening. "Out of state, one way." One way, that word echoed. He wasn't coming back. "Can you confirm if he got on?" I asked quickly. A few seconds passed, typing, clicking. Then, yes, he checked in, cleared security, flight status just updated. A pause. Departed. And just like that, he was gone. Not delayed. Not unreachable. Gone. He didn't just leave her at the wrong gate. He used her drop-off as cover, planned it down to the minute, left her sitting there, while he walked onto a plane and disappeared. I slowed the car as the weight of that hit me all at once. A 5-year-old, alone, in a crowded airport, waiting for someone who didn't exist. And here's the part that didn't make sense. If his plan was just to leave, why say someone else was coming? Why not just walk away? Why give her instructions at all? Unless there was supposed to be someone else, and something went wrong. Because now the real question wasn't just why he left. It was this. What did he think was going to happen to her after he did? By the time I reached the airport, it was already too late. Her flight was gone, and she was still there. Let that sink in. A 5-year-old, alone in a crowded terminal. I surrounded by strangers, announcements echoing overhead, people rushing past her like she didn't exist, and she never moved. Gate C-17 looked exactly how you'd expect at that hour. Half empty now, the earlier boarding rush long gone. A few scattered passengers, a tired staff member, and in the middle of it all, Nerissa, curled into one of those stiff airport chairs, her knees pulled close, her tiny fingers gripping the straps of her backpack like it was the only thing anchoring her to reality. When she saw me, she didn't run, didn't scream, didn't even smile. She just stared, like she needed to make sure I was real. "You came," she whispered. That was it. 2 words, and somehow they hit harder than anything else that day. I dropped to my knees in front of her and pulled her into my arms. She was warm, trembling slightly, but holding everything in like she'd been trying to be brave, just like she was told. "I'm here," I said softly. "I've got you." She nodded against me, but she didn't let go, not even a little. After a moment, I pulled back just enough to look at her. "Hey, can you tell me what Uncle Sky said before he left?" She sniffed, thinking carefully. "He said I had to wait here," she murmured, "and that someone would take me on a different trip." Different trip. Those words again. They didn't sit right. "Did he say who?" I asked gently. She shook her head. Then after a pause, she added something that stopped me cold. "He looked scared." Scared? That didn't fit. Calum wasn't the type to get scared easily. He was reckless, sure, but never hesitant. Unless something changed. Fast. I stood up slowly, I stepping a few feet away while a staff member stayed with her. My mind was racing, trying to connect pieces that didn't quite fit yet. I called Orion again. "There's something missing," I said. "He planned this, but something interrupted it." Silence on the other end. Then Orion exhaled. "I think you're right." My grip tightened around the phone. "What did you find?" "There's a flag tied to his booking," he said. "Didn't show up immediately. Financial enforcement alert. Activated this week." I frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning he's in serious debt. Collections level serious." That alone didn't explain abandoning a child. "Keep going," I said. "There's more," Orion added. 2 months ago, he attempted to travel with a dependent. Got denied. Dependent. My stomach turned. He had tried this before. And failed. Now everything started shifting into place, but not in the way I expected. He wasn't trying to leave her behind, I said slowly. Orion didn't respond because he already knew where I was going. He was trying to take her. And something big enough to scare him, made him change the plan at the last second. So the question is, what stopped him, and why did that fear make him walk away from her instead? Everything unravelled within the next hour, not slowly, not vaguely, clean, precise, documented, logical, payoff, airport security pulled the footage, and this time there was no guessing, no theories, just facts. Calum entered the terminal exactly as planned, Nerissa beside him, holding his hand, walking in the correct direction, toward gate A4. For a moment, everything looked normal. Then it happened. He stopped, midway through the terminal. His phone rang, he answered, and you could see it the exact second everything changed. His posture stiffened, his shoulders locked, his head turned slightly away from the crowd, like he didn't want anyone hearing. He listened, didn't speak much. Then he looked around, once, twice, calculating. After that he knelt in front of Nerissa, spoke to her calmly, too calmly, gave her instructions, and then he redirected, not toward her gate, toward C-17, a gate that had nothing to do with her flight, a place where she would wait and stay. After leaving her there, he didn't rush, didn't hesitate. He walked, steady, controlled, straight to his own gate, boarded his flight, and disappeared. But not for long. Orion traced the call. It came from a legal enforcement agency handling Calum's debt, severe, escalating, and flagged across multiple systems. Here's what mattered. If Calum attempted to leave the state with a minor, especially one he didn't have legal guardianship over, it would trigger immediate intervention, detainment, investigation. He knew that. So in that moment, standing in the middle of the airport, he had two options: take her and get stopped, or leave her and get away. He chose to leave her. Emotional payoff. I sat there in the terminal holding Nerissa as the full weight of that settled in. She wasn't lost, she wasn't forgotten. She was left behind on purpose. I waited. She whispered into my shoulder, like he said. I know, I told her quietly. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. And that was the part that stayed with me. She trusted him, completely. Consequence. Payoff. Calum's escape didn't last. Authorities were waiting when his flight landed. The flags on his file, combined with the airport report I filed, triggered immediate action. Charges followed quickly: child endangerment, abandonment, attempted unlawful transport of a minor. His financial situation only made things worse. No leverage, no protection. Family reactions split fast. Some tried to defend him, called it panic, desperation. Others cut him off entirely, but none of that reached Nerissa. I made sure of that. Final resolution. Moment. A few weeks later, she looked up at me and asked, "Airports aren't scary anymore, right?" I held her hand a little tighter before answering. No, I said. Not when you're with someone who stays. We went back. Same airport, same terminals, but this time there were no wrong gates, no confusion, no one walking away, just her hand in mine, and me never letting go.
Would you trust someone who watched you suffocate? Or did she know exactly what she was doing?